Hello, this is Reverend Twyla Reese from Unity of Merced, and I am here with Kelly Lowe. Kelly is one of our vocalists at Unity of Merced, and we also have with us today a guest, Reverend Gregory Geis from Detroit Unity Temple. Gregory and I have been dear friends for 20 years, and I know, it's our 20th anniversary. Actually, no, that's wrong. It's 21 years, right?
Yeah, I
And
guess we 1999.
right, and this is our 20th anniversary year of ordination.
Graduating.
Yeah.
Wow.
So we're so happy to have you here with us, Gregory. And Gregory often helps to keep me centered and focused. And
We
so,
help each other.
yeah, we do. And so with that, because I could go on being fangirl to everything that Gregory Geis does in the world, I will simply begin by reading the daily word. This is for Sunday, May 31st, and the word is love. I am a loving presence to everyone I meet. It has been said that the world needs more love. The truth is that all the love the world could ever need is already present everywhere because God is love and God is present everywhere. Created in God's image, I am divine love in human expression. I know that love is much more than a positive feeling. Divine love is the energy of oneness itself. As I remain centered in divine love, I know oneness in God with all people, including those who are dear to me and those I've never met. Divine love helps me see good everywhere and in everyone. I look beyond conflict and limitation and find the good that is always mine to discover. And the scripture, 1 John 4:7. Beloved, let us love one another because love is from God. Everyone who loves is born of God and knows God. And so in this truth, we know that God is love. And we set our mind and our hearts to the intention of always being that presence of love, not only in our own lives to ourselves, but to all people, towards all places, in all things. And for this, we do give thanks. And Kelly.
As I went down in the river to pray, studying about that good old way, and who shall wear the starry crown? Good Lord, show me the way. Oh, sisters, let's go down, come on down. Oh, sisters, let's go down in the river to pray. As I went down in the river to pray, studying about that good old way, and who shall wear the robe and crown? Good Lord, show me the way. Oh, brothers, let's go down, come on down. Oh, brothers, let's go down in the river to pray. As I went down in the river to pray, studying about that good old way, and who shall wear the starry crown? Good Lord, show me the way. Oh, fathers, let's go down, come on down. Oh, fathers, let's go down in the river to pray. As I went down in the river to pray, studying about that good old way, and who shall wear the robe and crown? Good Lord, show me the way. Oh, mothers, let's go down. Come on down. Don't you want to go down? Oh, mothers, let's go down, down in the river to pray.
Oh,
Right.
yes, Kelly, thank you. Thank you. I told Kelly last week that song was just not leaving me alone. And it was
I
What do
time.
can
you do?
understand that.
So before Gregory takes us to where he's going to take us, I just want to share. Remember last week in my talk, I shared the quote from Ramana Maharishi when he was asked, how should we treat others? And the Maharishi's answer was, there are no others.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
There are no others. And then we have had this week in our world that is already burdened with so much sadness and difficulty and challenges in finding a way for us to walk that narrow path of truth and love that we know that we are committed to always going to that higher realm. And so I was speaking to Gregory yesterday, and as we were speaking, I went, oh, Gregory, could you please be with us today? And so here is my dear friend, Reverend Gregory Guy.
Well, first of all, I want to give honor to God, who's the head of my life, and to you, Twyla, and to you, Kelly, and to your entire body, your spiritual community. I want to say thank you for allowing me to be here on this particular Sunday. And it's a very serious time because we have to utilize our higher spiritual consciousness. I like to share with you something that I had to witness, as I'm sure all of us have. We've been watching what's been taking place across America in our various communities. But this past Friday in Detroit, as you know, as the uproars was taking place because of the young man in Minneapolis, and there was rallies and that was taking place in Detroit. So I sat in front of my television and I was watching the protesters or individuals who were very concerned about what was taking place in the city of Detroit. And I watched two perspective energies converge together. The police on one hand, and I watched their response to the protesters. And I listened to both sides as this energy was coming together almost like a form of chemicalization, two energies that was trying to figure out what they can do and how they can begin to merge together. I was grateful that it didn't turn into a violence that burned down the city of Detroit, because I remember 1967, I was old enough to be a part of that as a young man in my teens. I remember what it felt like then to see tanks driving up and down the streets of Detroit. I remember to witness the bullets, the tanks rolling down my neighborhood. I remember those long days and nights that we had to go through trying to bring some peace and harmony back into the city of Detroit. I remember what it was like during that Vietnam era when we were so concerned about whether or not Vietnam was going to go somewhere. So it brings us to quite a contention or a very serious point, because 2020, this leap year, has really made us all wonder, where are we going? You know, I had a chance to work with SCLC, Southern Christian Leadership Conference. I had a chance to speak with Dr. King's son, and I remember the echo, and I worked a lot in community activism. So we are really at a very pinnacle point, because as our community are crying out in some aspects where they're saying Black Lives Matter, and we know many of us are saying all lives matter, but we're looking for a direction right now. And we have to realize that one of the things that we have to be able to do is go to our heart, a heart that will be open to be able to make change. On one hand, we know we can't meet fire with fire. We have to meet that whole challenge with love. I came to appreciate Dr. King now more than ever before. Dr. King was so far ahead of his time spiritually, because he understood that he had to meet hatred with love. He had to meet it at a high vibrational level that in order to bring about a change. But you can see that our community is really missing a messenger of Dr. King magnitude, where the world would resonate around his message that stood up. I looked at those young people who was crying out for someone to hear them. I was looking at the police hoping that somebody could quell the crowd so they didn't have to rely on their training to try to disperse the crowd by pepper spraying or putting tear gas onto them to try to break up the crowd. It was almost as if they were coming into an impasse of not knowing what to do from both sides. The crowd wanting answers and the police wanting them to go back. So we were really there, and then it was almost as if God was hoping that we all would go inside and find that inner peace, to find that relationship to connect within our heart. So I watched, and my prayers were going out, but I could hear the words being echoed by Dr. King. I started having moments of thinking about what would Dr. King do during this time period if he was alive? Because he believed in social resistance. He believed in social activity, but he believed in a nonviolence movement. It was funny, yesterday in Detroit, the day started out very peacefully, and it moved into that peaceful atmosphere. But somehow we cannot let ourselves be divorced from love and have a clear understanding of what we're seeking, because love is truly the message. You know, the daily word I felt was so divinely centered. It says, I am a loving presence to everyone I meet. Imagine if in that protesters, if they had a sign that stretched across that entire march. Imagine as they were approaching the police, and on that sign was that affirmation, I am a loving presence to everyone I meet. Imagine if they was holding that banner that went out with the word love as they approached the police officers. Imagine that they carried that banner and it resonated from their heart, and it went forward with such a dynamic energy that those police officers wouldn't have to have a shield up or their head dressed down ready to pour out pepper spray. Imagine if that whole banner was spread out, and if we had people who were saying, beloved, let us love one another. Imagine if that energy could be taken to the chief of police, and he began to tell his officers, we need to take in this lesson, and each one of you need to learn how to engage the community from that aspect of love. Because the police chief needs to realize that if the officers don't know how to use that as their primary effect, as their primary moment of engagement, coming from the engagement of love, they would have never had a knee on a person's neck. They would have reached down with a helping hand to lift them up and say, listen, I love you. Let's see if we can work out what's going wrong within you. Imagine they saw to the person's heart first, instead of seeing them as a criminal first, but as a human being, as a child of God first, who made a mistake, and saw themselves as human servants or servant leaders instead of an army of who are to contain and control. So today's lesson, it is a special message. I think is so important that that entire daily word need to be sent out to others and take in that whole perspective. Because if you take in the dynamics of what's going on with so many people, we have COVID on one hand, we have a message where people are lacking the trust, that our only embrace right now is to go back to that heart within ourselves and comfort ourselves and our neighbor with a blanket of love. And hopefully that can resonate to those who are in charge to realize that you can be a change agent of love instead of a policeman trying to control crime. Reach out to your neighbor. You know, it says, let us, beloved, let us love one another, because love is from God. And everyone who loves God is born of God and knows God. You know, it was funny. Jimi Hendrix had a quote that says, when the power of love overcomes the love for power, the world will know peace. And I have that hanging on my wall over there from Jimi Hendrix, something I've been holding on to for a long time. But it's going to require the spiritual leaders. And I love that quote when you said that, I think you mentioned from your last service, there are no others. When we can begin to see that oneness of reflection within each and every one of us. When I can see that man who I'm sitting across the street from, that protester or that individual. I don't even like to call him protester, but that's that servant of God who's trying to find answers. And that officer who just simply, who is a mother or a father who has children, they're not an enemy. They're just individuals who are trying to retain and maintain peace. They're put into a difficult situation because there's a point in our life where we may need them. There's a situation that will come around that we may hope that they're there to help us. So if we start seeing them as the enemy, we create a tremendous polarity. So we can't look at them as an enemy because they're caught between the fact that they may even know some of the individuals who's standing on the other side of that line, but yet they have to still try to do their job. So if we can't see them as from that space of love, we're caught in the tremendous dynamic polarity that we can't get trapped into. We have to see them from the same perspective. And that same individual who's in that uniform may realize that when he was 17, 18, 15, 19, that he may have been doing the same thing. And he may realize that he has to have that understanding. So if we reach out to him from the heart, from that perspective of love, it may slow him down from overreacting because fear is the wedge that's playing the dagger in between and causing that chemicalization. But then our leadership of this country cannot throw those words that causes that further division, or cannot see from a blind's eye to realize that he has to be a leader of love himself and recognize he has to speak those words of love, not words of division. So we have to really begin to make sure we can try to harmonize and uplift our community that will see that divine perspective. You know, all of us, no matter who we are caught between this aspect because there's enough going on in our lives right now being contained by COVID-19 to be able to realize that we can't keep moving further away from the alignment with God. This whole issue right now is causing, the ripple effect behind all this, none of us even want to think about. None of us don't want to even think about that those individuals who may have been in that encampment, that protesting moment, that moment of searching for answers could have been infecting even more. We don't even want to go there. And what it says that somewhere along the line, we have to sit back and say, dear Lord, help us along this way to find our path. That somebody need to stand up and be an echo of peace to allow those individuals to know that if we don't trust in God right now, trusting that God will allow us to find the answers, that we can't bring back Mr. Floyd back to this planet, but yet we can take his memory and let it be a memory of love to be able to lift us all up, to come together to bring harmony into our communities, to know that all police officers are not criminally charged or are brutes who beat and stab, but there are so many good officers. And I'm gonna give you an example of some good stories that are taking place. Every Thursday in our community with a program called Forgotten Harvest, we give out over 800 pieces of food, 800 bags of food to our community, along with Pizza Hut giving out 60 pizzas, along with giving out diapers, along with giving out hand sanitizers, along with giving out masks to the community. And the police are there to help us every Thursday with their cars, make sure we have an orderly demonstration. And we have a wonderful relationship. They come over and they support us and make sure that our flow of helping the community go well. We gave out 800 packages of food to the community, and it works well. And that's when officers are doing their job working directly with us. They're not trying to beat or brutalize, and they make sure that we work together. And that type of community servant, we need to praise them as well, or at the same time point out where they're not doing right. When those few officers are taken out of context and don't do their job correctly. And it damages those officers who are working hard to make sure those situations are taking place. And people don't talk about when PAL come along, Police Athletic League, to help so many young boys stay in line to have a place to go and play basketball or baseball or football. And we need to start looking for the good in our community between both sides. There's a community program called Forgotten Harvest that's working hard to feed the poor. another program called Inner City Youth Program that brings over to make sure that this takes place. We're so caught up into, we get so triggered by the wrong, we lose sight of the good. We lose sight of the God taking place in our society. And when we stop seeing the God in our lives and start focusing on the wrong or the mistakes or the error consciousness, that takes such a light, that little darkness impacts all the light that's going on in our world right now. And there's a lot of light being given. That moment that we've been centering around an incident, how many nurses we've forgotten, how many people in care houses that's helping to make COVID be an important reality. For this brief moment, we forgot all about COVID. We forgot how we was reducing the number of COVID. For that brief moment where we've been so concerned, not that we shouldn't be concerned, but let's not lose sight of the light. Let's not lose sight of God's love being poured out there. Let's not lose sight of the fact that love is still the strongest element. See, sometimes those distracting moments take us away from the good of what's being done, from the good that's all around us. And now we're going to be so off track again, out of alignment again, from the good that's trying to get us. We were trying to get back in alignment with the harmony and the peace and the love of a world, trying to move in that right direction, that all of a sudden we now have been sidetracked again by leaders' comments, by individuals who want to spark disturbances. You got in the whole communities burning and going out after similar. It's like we've lost sight of who we are and who we're supposed to be doing. Now you have nurses now have to be distracted because they got people coming into the hospital before riots, trying to battle COVID, trying to battle other situations. And here we are, trying to put out fires. Our firemen are being called to duty. Our policemen are being worn out. Individuals are trying to be dealing with other situations. And there's COVID-19 above us all. And who's going to catch the brunt of it? Those nurses in the hospitals, those care workers. Who's going to handle the new deaths as they rise up? Somewhere our society have to remember the mistakes that those officers made were wrong. Yes, that karma, that price, but we have to keep our eyes on the prize of bringing harmony and love back into the world. That's what our task has to be, bringing harmony and peace into the world, because the distractions can't give us off the track. There will be distraction. Jesus had to carry a cross under the most difficult circumstances so that we may understand the importance of loving one another. And for my brothers and sisters, that's what I just want to say from the heart. We must do as it says and realize that I am a loving presence to everyone I meet. And let that be the banner that we take going forward. God bless you.
Amen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Gregory.
my friend.
Mm-hmm.
So we are that loving presence.
Yes.
And there is in all of this moving forward, continuing on into that alignment, there is a new world coming. And for that, we have Kelly Lowe to help us along the way.
There's a new world coming, and it's just around the bend. There's a new world coming. This one's coming to an end. There's a new voice calling. You can hear it if you try. And it's growing stronger with each day that passes by. There's a brand new morning, rising clear and sweet and free. There's a new day dawning that belongs to you and me. Yes, a new world's coming, the ones we've had visions of, coming in peace, coming in joy, coming in love, coming in love, coming in love.
Perfect. Perfect.
That was definitely a perfect song for the, like we planned it that way.
The universe has been knowing what's been going on. Thank you, both of you.
You're welcome.
Thank you to each and every person who clicks on this video and hears this message of love. And in closing, the light of God surrounds you. The love of God enfolds you. The power of God protects you, and the presence of God watches over you. Wherever you are, God is, and you are a presence of love. And so it is.
So
So
it
it
is.
is.
Bye.
Take care. Be blessed. Nice to meet you, Kelly.
Nice to meet you, Gregory.
Bye.